Hey everybody, this is Randy McMullen with Amstar Mortgage. One of the questions I've been getting a lot is this the right time to buy an investment property? So what I wanted to do was to kind of give you an overview of kind of the ideas or some of the concepts that you'll want to think about when you're buying it. So instead of giving you just really specific information, I want to give you an example, and then you can take your own information and kind of fill it in and see how it might work for you. So if you want to buy an investment property, there are a couple of things you have to consider. Obviously, the down payment is one of them. Most of the time when you buy an investment property, it's going to be 20% down. You're going to get a little better rate if you put 25% down, but 20% is kind of the most common thing that we'll see. Interest rates on investment property, they're going to be a little higher than a primary residence. So just kind of be prepared for that. That might run anywhere from, half a point to 3/4 a point, maybe a full point higher than the current rate. But that'll give you an idea of what the rate's going to be. The other thing is really need to know your time frame or your time horizon. Because if you're buying an investment property and you want to get in and out in 5 years, it's a very different scenario than if you're buying one kind of a longer term, kind of a hold type of situation, maybe even for retirement. It's a great retirement plan. The other thing is cash flow. Obviously, you're looking at rental properties. You want to find something that's going to be positive cash flow, or at least I would say break even cash flow for the first year or two. And the other type thing you want to look at is loan type. So you can get a conventional loan. That's kind of the traditional loan that most people look at. But there's another program out there that's called Debt Service Coverage Ratio, or DSCR for short. And what that is, it's a program that allows you to buy an investment property and they don't verify your income, they don't verify your job. Basically, the parameters for this program, kind of simply, is you have to have a good credit score, usually 680 or above, and they will just look at your property, and if the rent is greater than the mortgage payment, basically you're going to get approved for that loan. They just want to make sure that the property is a positive cash flow. So that's the main thing. So what I did was I just took an example, and again, this is where I'm going to encourage you, use your own numbers, do your own homework on this, and look at your market to see what makes sense for you. So I just took a $300,000 sales price with 20% down with a $240,000 loan amount, and I just used 7%. Again, rates are going to vary over time, so you're going to want to plug in the interest rate that makes sense for whatever rate is at that time. But using these figures, I had a principal and interest of about $1,597. I just estimated taxes at $280. I know that's going to vary dramatically from state to state, even from county to county within Georgia. And then you're going to have about $110 a month for homeowners insurance. And I used 0 for an HOA fee for this illustration. So the total payment is about $1,987. Now, I'll tell you what I did was I'm looking at this over a longer time frame. So I'm considering a 12-year time frame for this one. So all I did was I took the monthly payment times 144 months. So I wanted to see what's the total amount of money I'm going to have outlay for my property, for my mortgage, over that 12-year period. So it's 286, 128. So before you get all upset, yes, I know taxes are going to vary a little bit over that time. And homeowner's insurance rate may change a little bit over that time. Again, this is just a basic methodology to kind of get you started. You can factor those things in on your own. So the other thing I did is if this is what I'm going to pay, then I want to say, well, how much revenue will I get during that same 12-year period? I think I took a really conservative approach towards this one. I used $2,200 a month for rent for that property for the first 2 years. In fact, I didn't even go up on rent in year 2. And then in year 3, I only went up $100 a month for 2 more years, and then another $100 a month for 2 more years. I think that's a really conservative number, but again, I would look at your market, look at what past history was of rent, and then I think you can use that to kind of forecast a little bit about what rents might be moving forward. What I can tell you is that rents were a whole lot cheaper 10 years ago, and they've certainly gone up, and I think they're going to continue to go up. So if I took the numbers and I multiplied all these out, the total revenue during that same 12-year period of time was $367,200. So I had an expense for my mortgage of $286. I took in $367 in terms of my total revenue. So then what I did was I took kind of what was my positive cash flow, 367.2, which was what I took in, 286, 128, which is what I put out, and it left me a positive cash flow of about $81,000. Now, if you want to, here you can use this number and maybe subtract $20,000 for the amount of money you might pay to repaint the house over the time. You might want to fix an air conditioner or whatever repairs, whatever number you want to use, just subtract it out of that. That'll be your positive cash flow for that 12-year period of time. I also had to go back and look at what's the balance on that loan after 12 years. And the balance had dropped to $195,797. And then the other thing I had to do was what kind of equity am I going to have in that house after 12 years? Again, you're going to get to take your own numbers for this. I will tell you that I tried to be really conservative, and I just went back and I used 2.5% for the next 12 years. So I could have used 4, 5, 6, 7. We might have some bigger years. We might have some smaller years. But again, I think 2.5% is a pretty conservative estimate of what you might see on home prices moving forward. So if I did that, at the end of year 12, the house is worth right around $405,000. Now we said here the loan balance is $195,797. I just rounded that off, and that gives me about $210,000 in equity. So if I've got $2,010 in equity, and again, maybe you subtracted $21,000 from this, and you've got $60,000. So in total, you would have about $270,000 in equity and in profit from your original $60,000 investment. So again, I encourage you, pick your own terms, pick your own interest rate, take the interest rate you want to use and do these calculations, figure out what you think your rent might be over that time, and just calculate it out. It's a pretty simple calculation. So even in today's market, at 7% or even 7.25%, I think over time this is going to be a pretty good investment. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call. This is Randy McMullen with Amstar Mortgage. Have a great day.